Good morning, dementia caregivers. If someone were to ask you today to make a list of what you needed as a dementia caregiver, what would you put on that list? More time? More help? More money? More of you? As caregivers, we often feel torn between meeting the needs of the person with dementia and our own needs. Or worse yet, we simply neglect our own needs in favor of meeting theirs. Did you know that caregiving in general is classified as a chronic stress experience? Chances are that you do know that inherently, even if you've never really thought about it or articulated it. And caring for a person with dementia is more challenging than caring for a person with physical disabilities alone. In fact, the overall burden associated with caregiving and the negative associated physical, mental, and psychosocial impacts for caregivers for a person with dementia has been found to be higher than for almost all other diseases of old age. In part, this is because people with dementia typically require more supervision, are less likely to express gratitude for the help that you do provide them, and are more likely to be depressed. But it's also true because the course of dementia is so unpredictable. We never know what might happen today or how long this journey is going to last. It's not surprising then that dementia caregivers report higher levels of stress, more depression and anxiety symptoms, and lower levels of subjective well-being when compared to non-caregivers and to caregivers for those with other chronic diagnoses. In addition, dementia caregivers experience worse physical health outcomes, compromised immune systems, greater medication use, and greater cognitive decline, certainly something that none of us wants. Given the sheer number of physical and mental demands that a dementia caregiver faces, it's not surprising that studies have shown that they have a number of unmet needs. One study by the Alzheimer's Association used home assessment as well as formal questionnaires to identify the most prevalent unmet needs for caregivers. Those unmet needs were categorized into 4 separate categories. The number one unmet need of dementia caregivers, with 98% of those respondents identifying this as a need, was for more dementia education, skills training, knowledge of and access to community resources. Not to sound completely negative, caring for someone with dementia can also have positive effects. It can increase one's confidence, skills, and self-reliance. It can also decrease one's stress and contribute to a sense of pride and accomplishment. Viktor Frankl, who was a Jewish psychiatrist who was in prison at Auschwitz, believed that all people experience difficult circumstances, which they cannot change, but they can still find meaning and purpose by changing how they view those circumstances. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Being part of a support group can help us change ourselves so that the stress-associated impacts of caregiving are minimized and mediated, and we find calm and comfort in the midst of a very difficult situation. So what do we get from a support group that's unique and so powerful in our caregiver journey? How can a support group help meet a number of those unmet needs from the study I just cited? Here are some of the things that I learned during my 8 years as a support group member and 4 years as the co-facilitator of a combination educational and support group. Support group members understand. I mean, they really understand. They understand how crazy it makes one feel when the person with dementia is his old self, when there are other people around and a completely different person with them. They understand how she can fool others including her medical care provider, into thinking that she's okay, while consistently forgetting how to get home, what the appropriate clothing is for the weather, and the answer to that question that you just answered for the 100th time in the last 30 minutes. Support groups share knowledge, wisdom, and resources. Everyone in a support group is willing to share what they've learned in the hope of making the journey easier for another caregiver. They share what worked and what didn't work to make life easier. They also can share specifically what worked and didn't work to get someone to eat more, to calm down, or to accept the change to wearing Depends. They share how they deal with driving issues and being shadowed everywhere they go. They share how to respond to delusions and hallucinations, what medicines seem to help, and what information is most important to relay to a medical care provider. And they share ways to relay that information so that you are not providing it in front of your family member and making them really mad at you. They reinforce that one of the most important goals of care is keeping both yourself and the person living with dementia safe. They know about resources in the community that you might never find out about otherwise. And best of all, you get to pick from this smorgasbord of information to find what works best in your particular situation. Support group members accept you for who you are on any given day. They understand the ups and downs of caregiving and how the demands can wear you down. They understand that some days you feel beaten up and some days you're on top of the world because you figured out how to make the day better for the person with dementia and for yourself. They know the feeling of being in control of your responses to the person with dementia and of being so out of control that you're ashamed of what you think, say, or do. Being part of a support group helps you feel less isolated. Support group members don't shy away from you like friends or some family members who either don't know how to interact with a person with dementia or who find staring dementia in the face just too scary for them to cope with. Support group members are heroes, a term my co-facilitator Pat Snyder defines as those who run toward danger while others are running away from it. One of the most difficult challenges of being a caregiver is taking care of oneself. We all invest so much time and energy in making life good for the person with dementia that we have little, if any, left for ourselves. One way of taking care of our own mental health needs is to be part of a group where you get this unconditional support. Support group members can laugh with each other, often about things that no one else would find laughable. Who else can really understand how it can be funny when your loved one pees on your foot multiple days in a row because he can't figure out how to sit down on the toilet quickly enough? Or when you have to chase turtles out of the bathroom so he is not afraid he's going to step on one. And where else would you find a group of people who all forgot to do something critical, like turning on the oven to bake a turkey, while helping get ready for a holiday meal? Support group members make you feel valued. They appreciate what they learn from your experiences and give you positive feedback on suggestions you make that work for them. They value your knowledge and experience just as you value theirs. They are there for you, no matter what. They call, text, or email when your loved one has a major crisis, or just to check in if they know you're having a particularly difficult time. They surround you with love when your loved one dies, and some of them remain friends into your life after caregiving. Support group members consistently remind you of the need to take care of yourself. They make suggestions for brief and longer times away from caregiving and ask you if you've taken that time that you promised you would figure out how to take. They help hold you accountable for meeting your own needs at least part of the time. By their actions, support group members sing you a song that all of us have heard many times in the past 2 years. It goes like this: lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm going to need somebody to lean on. This song seems to have become the theme song for the COVID pandemic and has been sung by people in New York, Dallas, and Chicago as they lean out their apartment windows or stand outside socially distanced from one another, by healthcare providers in hospitals and clinics, and by Walmart employees. In part, this song is so powerful because it memorializes the need we as humans have to care and to be cared for. Although many of us think of Stevie Wonder when we hear this song, it was actually written by Bill Withers as a tribute to the strong community ethic he experienced growing up in a small coal mining town in West Virginia. There are many times in our lives that we need that commonality of community to get us through the pain and sorrow that we are living. Caring for a loved one with dementia is one of those times. So what are you waiting for? Support groups are available in person and online, at different times of day and different days of the week, and for different kinds of dementia. Support groups also have different personalities. If one doesn't fit your needs, don't give up. Look for another one that works for you. You can find listings of support groups on the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina website and on the websites of other organizations devoted to dementia education. There are many decisions we have to make when we're caregivers for someone with dementia. Perhaps one of the most important is, as Frankel said, what we learn from this experience that changes us for the better. Being an active part of a support group is one of the best ways to learn over and over again that we can survive and become a better person, even in the midst of this most terrible experience. In that respect, it's the ultimate example of what leaning on someone else and having them lean on you really means.